Have you ever walked away from a conversation and felt like your silence wasn't enough? You kept your thoughts to yourself, held your tongue like the wise often do. Yet somehow, the moment passed, and so did your influence. The silence didn't echo. It faded. And you're left wondering, was I wise or just invisible? Silence is powerful, yes. It can command attention, conceal your intentions, and give you time to think. The Stoics valued silence, not as a mask, but as a mirror for the self. But even they knew, silence alone is not the end of wisdom. It's a beginning. Today, we explore a strategy even more potent than silence, one that doesn't just preserve your mystery, but imprints your presence. It's subtle, deliberate, and rooted in Stoic mastery. Not to react, not even to withhold, but to shape the space you occupy without uttering a word. This isn't about manipulation. It's about influence with integrity, carving your mark through intention, not noise. Welcome to Stoic Lens, where we blend ancient Stoic insight with modern psychological edge, helping you not just think clearly, but live powerfully. If you've ever felt overlooked despite staying silent, or wondered how to speak volumes without saying a thing, then you're exactly where you need to be. Stay with me. The shift begins now. Principle 1. The power and the limits of silence. Before we can speak of something greater, we must first honor what already holds immense strength: silence. For generations, silence has been revered, not as weakness, but as wisdom. The Stoics knew this well. Cleanthes, one of the early leaders of the Stoa, once taught that true strength is found not in how much you say, but in how little you need to. And it's true. When you hold your tongue, you preserve your energy, your dignity, your control. Silence shields you. It stops reckless speech, guards you from impulse, and cloaks you in mystery. When you say nothing, people begin to wonder. That wondering, their unease, their questions, is often more powerful than any speech. In a world addicted to noise, silence is rebellion. It's rare, and what is rare is valued. When you choose silence, you don't disappear. You become a mirror. Others see in you what they fear or hope to see. They project their judgments, their doubts, their assumptions. You let their minds do the speaking, and often they reveal more than you ever could. Imagine this. In a heated exchange, someone lashes out, hoping to pull you into their storm. The usual response is to argue, defend, explain. But you, guided by stillness, say nothing. You hold their gaze, not with anger, but with unwavering presence. The silence stretches, and suddenly they begin to feel exposed. Their power fades because you refuse to play their game. This is the strength of silence. It redirects the energy. It centers you. But here's the truth the Stoics understood. Anything used without intention loses its virtue. Silence is powerful, but only when it's chosen, not when it's default. If your silence becomes predictable, it becomes empty. If you're always silent, you risk becoming not respected, but ignored. And that is the limit. Silence creates space, yes, but space without form becomes void. The Stoics never worshipped passivity. They believed in action guided by reason. Seneca taught that no wind is favorable to the sailor who doesn't know where to go. Likewise, silence must serve purpose. And when that purpose calls for presence, for impact, for movement, then silence must give way to deliberate action, not loud, reckless action, not action for validation, but action that cuts through illusion. That plants you in the minds of others, not as a shadow, but as a symbol. So yes, silence is powerful, but it's only the first step. True mastery is found in knowing when to be silent and when to act with precision. Before we go further, reflect on this. Have you ever used silence not just to hide, but to lead? If so, acknowledge it. Like this video and comment below. I master silence and action. Own those words, because from this point forward, we go beyond silence into something far greater. Principle 2. Presence without words, influence without effort. If silence is the art of restraint, then presence is the art of impact. Without saying a word, true presence can speak volumes. It is the quiet force that shapes perception, commands respect, and leaves an imprint long after you've walked away. While silence builds mystery, presence creates gravity. It doesn't just make people wonder who you are, it makes them feel who you are. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Antoninus, known to many as Marcus Aurelius, once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your presence, then, is nothing less than a reflection of your inner life. When your thoughts are clear, disciplined, and rooted in purpose, it shows through your gaze, your posture, your stillness. Presence is silence with substance. It isn't passive, it radiates intention. Think about this. Someone enters a room. They don't need to speak, yet everyone notices, not because they demand attention, but because they embody it. That kind of presence doesn't come from ego, it comes from self-mastery. In Stoic terms, presence is the outward form of ataraxia, inner tranquility. It's what happens when your mind is unshaken by praise or blame, when you no longer seek approval or validation. You move deliberately, you speak only when needed, and even in silence you declare, "I am grounded, I am ready." While silence can create space, presence fills it. It doesn't push or pull, it simply is. And that being is what draws others in, not through tricks or force, but through alignment between your internal state and your external behavior. This is why presence is unforgettable. It lingers, not in the noise, but in the stillness it leaves behind. Here's what matters. You don't need to be loud to be seen. You don't need to prove anything to have influence. Your presence is your proof. It tells the world, without a single word, that you know who you are. And that is something no one can ignore. When you pair this kind of presence with strategic silence, you become a force few understand, but none can overlook. So let me ask you, when you walk into a room, do you merely show up, or do you arrive? If you're ready to carry yourself with presence that commands respect without a sound, take a quiet but deliberate step. Like this video and comment, "I master my presence." Because presence is not about being seen, it's about being felt. Principle 3. Purposeful action as the mark of inner strength. The Stoics taught a timeless truth. Words may echo, but only action builds. While silence and presence are powerful, they are incomplete without purposeful movement. Thought without execution is potential unrealized. Musonius Rufus once said that philosophy is not just theory, it is practice. It must be lived, and to live it is to act. Action is the bridge between inner mastery and outer influence. It turns your presence into legacy and your silence into strength with direction. It's not about dramatic gestures or grand performances. The most impactful actions are often quiet, precise, and rooted in discipline. A measured decision, a firm step forward, a refusal to be provoked. These subtle acts hold far more power than impulsive words shouted in the heat of emotion. Imagine this. You're in a room where conflict brews. Others raise their voices, scramble to defend themselves, or push their agenda. You remain grounded. You listen, observe, wait. And then, when the moment aligns, you speak, or perhaps you don't. Instead, you act, not to prove your worth, but to move things forward, to bring clarity, not chaos. That single action, born from restraint and reason, speaks volumes. This is Stoic action, measured, effective, and aligned with virtue. And here's something the ancients understood deeply. Human beings are shaped more by what they witness than by what they're told. When people see you act with calm conviction, when they observe your consistency, they feel your strength, even if they never say it aloud. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." The same applies to action. Don't crave attention. Don't chase recognition. Instead, act in alignment with your principles and let your movements speak the truth of your character. Because action is not only for the world to see, it's for you. Each step you take, no matter how small, is a vote of confidence in yourself. When you follow through, when you stand by your intentions, you build trust, not in others, but in your own nature. And that self-trust is the foundation of unshakable confidence. The Stoics knew that mastery of the self is the highest form of power. And you cannot think your way into strength. You must act your way into it. This completes the triad. Silence draws mystery. Presence demands attention. But it is action that leaves the mark. When all three align, you become unforgettable. Not because you speak louder than others, but because you move with purpose. So ask yourself, when did your actions last speak louder than your words? If you're ready to live the Stoic path of purposeful action, do this, like this video and comment, "My actions define me," because in the end, words fade, but action endures. Principle 4. Shaping perception through inner alignment. Let's now move beyond silence, presence, and action into the realm of perception. Not how you see the world, but how the world sees you. This, the Stoics understood deeply, even if they never gave it a name. Today, we call it perception management. But for the Stoic, it was simply living in alignment, ensuring that what others perceive is not a mask, but a mirror of your internal state. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's perception management in its purest form. Decide who you are, then move, speak, and carry yourself as that person, consistently, deliberately, without apology. Because here's the truth, how others perceive you shapes how they respond to you, whether they listen, trust, challenge, or admire. And while you cannot control their minds, you can shape what you show them. You can lead their perception by the quality of your being. Let's put this into perspective. Walk into a room slouched, avoiding eye contact, with restless hands, and you'll be perceived as uncertain, disconnected, or unsure. But walk into that same room with upright posture, calm eyes, and steady stillness, and you haven't even spoken, yet the atmosphere shifts. That is not deception. That is embodiment. The way you carry yourself becomes an extension of your inner clarity. The Stoics would say, let your actions, your silence, and your presence reflect your values. Let others see not the noise of insecurity, but the calm weight of virtue. This is where perception becomes power, not through manipulation, but through intention. Most people react to the world unconsciously, but the Stoic acts with awareness. Your gestures, your stillness, even your pauses, all of it sends messages. People instinctively read them. And if your signals are steady, measured and purposeful, you'll be seen as someone not to be overlooked, but remembered. And here lies the deeper advantage. When your behavior is intentional but not always explained, you create intrigue. People start to wonder, what is he thinking? Why did he respond that way? What does he see that I don't? This quiet mystery draws attention not because you ask for it, but because your way of being invites reflection. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not death a man should fear, but never beginning to live." And to truly live is to take responsibility for the energy you carry into every space. You already shape how others see you, so the question is, are you doing it with purpose or by default? Perception management in Stoic terms is not performance, it's alignment. When your silence, your presence and your actions flow from the same well, your character, then you don't need to chase validation. You become the standard by which others measure themselves. So reflect on this. What signal are you sending? What does your presence say about you when you say nothing at all? If you're ready to shape perception with clarity and conviction, take a quiet moment to affirm it. Like this video and comment, "I shape my reality." Because how you're perceived begins not with them, but with you. Principle 5. Controlled visibility, the strategy few ever use. Now that we've explored the strength of silence, the force of presence, the weight of action, and the shaping of perception, it's time to reveal the strategy that ties it all together: controlled visibility. This is the Stoic art of appearing with purpose. It's not about being ever-present or vanishing into obscurity. It's about choosing when to be seen and why. Controlled visibility is the fusion of restraint and intention. It is silence, presence, and purposeful action distilled into one method. You don't need to be everywhere to be influential. In fact, the more frequently you show up without purpose, the more your presence is diluted. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Controlled visibility begins with that clarity. When you know your worth, you no longer seek validation. You strategically offer your presence, like a sculptor offering only what completes the form. Here's the truth. When you are too available, your value becomes assumed. But when you appear with intention, when your presence is rare and resolute, it demands attention. You become not just seen, but felt. This isn't about manipulation. It's about discipline. It's about applying the Stoic principle of moderation to your presence in the world. You attend the meetings that matter. You speak when silence no longer serves. You engage when your involvement aligns with your virtue. And when you withdraw, it's not out of fear or insecurity, but out of strength to sharpen your edge. Think of it this way. Controlled visibility creates contrast. Your silence becomes more profound. Your words carry more weight. Your presence, when it appears, is no longer routine, but remembered. Let's consider a real-world example. Imagine you've stepped back from a group, a conversation, or a space for a time, not to disappear, but to reflect, to grow. Then, when a pivotal moment arises, a meaningful event, a crucial decision, you reappear, calm, composed, aligned. You say little, but it's precise. You act, and it's deliberate. And when you leave behind more than a memory. You leave an impression. That is the essence of controlled visibility. It's not absence, it's intentional space. It's presence that respects both your time and theirs. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "Let your thoughts be ruled by principles." Controlled visibility is a living principle. It's about choosing when to reveal your light. not to blind, but to illuminate with purpose. And more than anything, this strategy isn't just about how others see you, it's about how you master yourself. To practice controlled visibility is to embrace the Stoic virtues of temperance, wisdom, and courage. It takes strength to hold back. It takes wisdom to step forward. And when you do both with intention, your influence becomes undeniable. So ask yourself, are you being seen with purpose? Or are you scattering your presence without meaning? If you're ready to live with presence that matters, like this video and comment below. I choose when to be seen, because this isn't just a strategy, it's a philosophy in motion. Principle 6. Practicing controlled visibility in real life. Understanding controlled visibility is one thing, living it is another. This isn't just a mindset, it's a disciplined practice that you can bring into every sphere of life. Your relationships, your work, your growth. At its core, controlled visibility is about mastering the balance between presence and absence, between silence and action. And that mastery begins with self-awareness. Before you shape how others see you, ask, what do I stand for? What values should my presence reflect? Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your presence is rooted in clear principles, it becomes authentic and powerful. Next, be selective. You don't need to be everywhere or speak often to be respected. You need to matter when you appear. Whether it's showing up during key conversations or speaking only when your words carry weight, impact is born from timing, not repetition. When you do step forward, act deliberately. Let your tone, your posture, your movement all reflect intention. Even a quiet gesture, when aligned with purpose, resonates. As Seneca reminded us, words without truth are empty. Let your actions speak meaningfully. Now embrace strategic absence. Don't vanish, but step back when your presence is being taken for granted. When used wisely, your absence isn't distance, it's contrast. It reminds others of your value without needing to say a word. And above all, remain consistent. Controlled visibility isn't a one-time strategy, it's a way of being. Over time, your quiet strength will carve a lasting impression. So ask yourself, are you moving with intention or spreading yourself thin? If you're ready to embody this principle in life, like this video and comment, I show up with purpose. Because presence isn't about being seen, it's about being remembered. Principle 7. Contrast, the secret to lasting impact. Now let's unlock the force that magnifies everything you've learned so far. The contrast principle. Rooted in both Stoic wisdom and practical insight, this principle is simple yet powerful. Value is felt most deeply in contrast. Silence becomes profound only after noise. Presence becomes magnetic when it follows absence. Deliberate action becomes unforgettable when it breaks a pattern of stillness. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus reminded us, "It is not things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about them." And judgment is shaped through contrast. Controlled visibility becomes truly powerful when used in this way. You're not just present, you return. You don't just act, you intervene. That shift, the timing, the restraint, the deliberate move, catches attention and leaves impact. Consider someone who is always speaking, always visible. Over time, they fade into the background. Now think of someone quiet, thoughtful, who only steps forward when it counts. That contrast sharpens their image, makes every word feel heavier, every move more deliberate. People are wired to notice change, not randomness, but rhythm. When your presence feels rare, yet intentional, it creates a kind of gravity. drawing attention without asking for it. But this principle isn't just about others. It refines you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." Reflect on contrast, not just to influence others, but to focus on what truly matters. So ask yourself, are you creating contrast or blending into the noise? If you're ready to use presence, absence, and purpose to carve lasting impact, like this video and comment. My impact is undeniable. Because when contrast meets clarity, you don't just speak, you resonate. Principle 8. Empowerment through mastery. Now we reach the heart of everything. Empowerment through mastery. All the strategies we've explored, controlled visibility, deliberate action, the contrast principle, are tools, but their power is rooted in one thing: the mastery of yourself. This is the soul of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Empowerment doesn't come from control over others. It comes from command over your thoughts, your actions, and your presence. True influence begins within. Your silence, your presence, your impact. They are only as powerful as the mind behind them. Mastery means choosing when to act, when to be still, when to speak, and when to withdraw, with unwavering purpose. It begins with your thoughts. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events, but by how we perceive them. Mastery means training your mind to remain steady even when the world is not. That steadiness is what others feel and remember. Then comes discipline, not grand gestures, but quiet consistency. Keeping your word to yourself, following through on what matters. Every small act of discipline builds trust within, and when you trust yourself, others sense that strength without needing proof. Here's the truth. When you master yourself, you don't chase validation. You no longer act for approval. You act from clarity. You don't perform. You embody. When your silence, your presence, and your actions align with your values, you become magnetic. Not loud, not demanding, just real. That's what makes you unforgettable. So ask yourself, are you the master of your mind and movement, or a reflection of outside noise? If you're ready to lead from within, like this video and comment, I am the master of my life, because real power isn't loud. It's deeply earned and quietly unshakable. If you found value in this, subscribe now for more Stoic strategies to sharpen your mind and elevate your presence.